Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and, frankly, pretty controversial research paper. It digs into the mysterious illness we all know as Havana syndrome, profiling the medical evidence and proposing a wild theory for what might be behind it all.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. To understand what's going on, you first have to know what these American diplomats and military folks started experiencing back in 2016. It was this bizarre laundry list of symptoms. We're talking intense headaches, hearing weird grating sounds, memory loss, and serious problems with their balance.
And even though it's called Havana syndrome, this thing wasn't just happening in Cuba. The paper we're looking at points out that similar stuff was reported way back in the 50s at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, and then again more recently in China. So this wasn't just one weird event, it was starting to look like a global pattern.
So the big question, right, was, is this all in their heads? Is it psychological, or is there something physically, measurably wrong? To figure that out, researchers over at the University of Pennsylvania went looking for hard evidence, using advanced neuroimaging to actually look inside the brains of the people who were affected.
And what they found, well, it was a pretty big deal. A 2019 study led by a researcher named Verma discovered real, quantifiable, physical differences in the brains of these patients compared to a group of healthy people. This wasn't just about symptoms anymore. This was physical evidence.
Okay, now take a look at this, because this is where it gets really interesting. These scans basically visualize those brain differences. The red and orange areas show where the patient's brains had some unusual changes in gray matter, while the blue shows where they had less volume in the white matter. This was objective data, something you can see and measure, suggesting a real physical change had taken place.
And the damage wasn't just random either. It was incredibly specific. As you can see here, it was focused on particular networks in the brain. You've got regions involved in hearing, vision, balance, all lining up perfectly with the exact symptoms people were reporting. It's a striking correlation.
So, what on earth could cause such precise and strange damage to the brain? This is where the paper we're examining takes a huge, controversial leap. It suggests this wasn't an illness at all. It was an attack. And here's the central debate. On one side, you have the official counterargument, which often leans towards something called mass psychogenic illness. That's the idea that symptoms are real, but they're sparked by psychological stress spreading through a group. But on the other side, the author of this paper says, no way. They argue that the physical brain scans are hard to explain away and point to a targeted weapon using pulsed radio frequency, a conclusion they claim that's often suppressed.
Now, according to this source, the technology to do something like this isn't some brand new invention. The paper lays out this alleged secret history, claiming it all started with Nazi research in the 30s, was then picked up and developed by the Soviets, and eventually even made its way to Western defense contractors. It's a pretty wild timeline.
And to back this up, the paper points to people like John Norcine, an engineer who apparently worked for Lockheed Martin on something called thought injection technology. I mean, listen to that quote. The goal, as presented here, was to influence a person's brain, their actual neurons, remotely and almost instantly.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. How could a weapon like this possibly work from a distance, without any physical contact? Well, let's get into the physics, because the author has an explanation for that too.
The whole theory really hangs on this pretty mind-bending quantum principle called the Aharonov-Bohm effect. Think of it like this. You're in a boat on a calm lake. But suddenly, your boat starts rocking. You look around and you can't see any wind or waves hitting you, but you feel the swell from a huge storm that's miles and miles away. The water itself is carrying the potential of that storm's energy. The paper suggests a weapon could do the same thing, influence a target without ever directly hitting it.
In this diagram, it shows that idea perfectly. You see the electron's path getting bent by a magnetic field that it never actually touches. All the influence is happening at a distance, through that potential field. That's the key to this whole theory of a non-local weapon.
Then the author throws another piece of quantum mechanics into the mix: entanglement. You've probably heard of this. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. It's where two particles are linked, and whatever happens to one instantly happens to the other, even if they're on opposite sides of the universe. The paper proposes this is how you could target a specific individual by linking them to a device.
So, let's put it all together. Here's the three-step attack the paper lays out. Step 1, a person is somehow entangled with a generator. Step 2, that generator then creates these invisible potential fields. And step 3, because of that entanglement link, those fields can remotely mess with the very structure of the target's brain cells, causing the physical damage we saw in those scans.
So at the end of the day, what are we left with? You've got this incredible chain of logic connecting real medical data, a very contested secret history, and some of the strangest ideas in physics. It leaves us with this huge, unsettling question. Are we looking at science fiction, or are we decoding the signature of a secret reality?